Right, well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining myself and Shaun for the Leadership versus Management live webinar this evening. And we're going to go into through a few secrets of success, in particular, how the military train their leaders and the secret formula that goes together to bring the most success and to develop great leaders. So you have average leaders, of course, but how can you be truly great? And how can you truly get success with your team? So, Shaun, welcome and thanks for joining me tonight thanks for joining me. Shaun is my business partner. So we are together and we have formed the Personal Wellbeing and Transformation Network. And we have our own logo, which is Temit, which means know thyself. And as any great leader will tell you, the secret to being a great leader is knowing yourself ultimately first, because that's the key to understanding how you're going to react. And of course, how other people react when you're going to be talking to them. So what makes a great leader? Shaun, how do you want to start?
Oh, well, where to begin? I'm sure as people have joined us and people will catch up on this later, realize if you look out there and you look at a number of the books, and there's so much content out there, so many different variations, so many different perceptions, leadership versus management, what each of them are. It is a massive thing. So obviously we will skim the surface because there are so many different areas and different viewpoints. But I think there are a number of fundamentals. And I think one of them, as CJ sort of aligned to there, which sort of ties in with hang on, here we go, Tebanovsky, and CJ as it is showed as well, is I think a big part of that is you and ourselves. To be a leader, it's about knowing ourselves, because the better and more confident and comfortable we are in ourselves, the more confident and the better our ability to project, to influence, to ensure that people understand and know where we're coming from. If we don't have a great understanding about what we want for ourselves and where we are and what we want to achieve and things like that, how can we expect other people to actually understand that and understand what it is that we want to achieve, or what is as the collective we want to achieve? So I think that's, for me, I think that's perhaps one of the first things that we sort of start going into and talking about is that self-awareness, knowing thyself, to ensure that leading yourself, leading yourself through struggles, leading yourself through things, so that when you are able to center yourself and lead your own path, instead of trying to multitask, do all these things, you can be the inspiration, because people see by the way you walk, by the way you talk, by the way you present yourself, that you're someone that seems to have it all together, seems to know what they're doing. And by that rationale, they will be more inclined to want to follow. So that's sort of probably a good starting point. Like I said, we can go for a while. CJ?
Yeah, it's funny. So I had plenty of experience of leaders and managers in my career. And one of the fundamental differences between a leader and a manager is the ability to trust. I've come across many managers you have to grow trust. You need to earn trust with them in order for them to really bring you into the fold. And I think that's a fundamental difference between a leader and a manager, because a leader's job, by the very nature of the fact that you're in charge of a team, means that you have to trust from day one. So you have to trust that your team has got your back the moment you step into the room. And that's really difficult, because it means that you are immediately empowering them to do what they need to do. And that sends a very powerful message in itself. So one of the things that the military teaches you to do is to immediately get into that leadership role and trust your team, because they will have been led before you've arrived. They will have had some experience of leadership or management, one of the two. But it's really, really important that if you are going to be the best leader and one of the most inspirational and motivating leaders that you can be, you have to trust them. And actually, they're the experts. And that's something that one of my absolute favorite mentors and one of my, I would say hero, is a guy called Charles Krulak. who is a retired four-star general from the US Marine Corps. I had the pleasure of meeting him at Cranfield University. Incredibly unassuming guy, very, very humble, but an absolutely outstanding leader. And his one of the things he talks about is the guys fighting the war today know more about the war than you do, because you're no longer fighting the war. They're at the coalface. They're the ones who are doing the business. So they're acting on the information that they have at the time, which is more up to date than what you have. Most generals will tell you the same thing, is that it's the guys on the front line who know what's going on, and you have to trust them and you have to empower them. And that can immediately, if you're going into front of a team or if you're going into a leadership position, just trusting your team from the off. Some people, a manager will tell you that's foolhardy, but a leader will know that that's how you gain their trust, is by trusting them. And it's the leader's job to immediately go into that trust position. So I guess the next question has to be, how do you gain the trust of the team? Apart from trusting them, I was always told that you've got two of one thing and one of another, and you should use the two more than you use the one. So yes, absolutely sure. So the key thing is leaders listen. And there's a big difference to just hearing and listening. It's about truly taking in what your team have got to tell you, being in the moment with them, experiencing what they're experiencing, listening to what they say, and more importantly, the way they say it, and listen for what's not being said, because often it's the gaps that can be the most telling. Shaun, you've got anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, I think, listening is a big thing. And because the other thing is, as to be a great leader, it's about realizing the strengths in all the people that you have around you. Each of us has something to bring to the table. Each of us has, our strength or an area that we're really, really good at. By being open and listening and trusting those around you, by listening and understanding each of them as well, and bringing out their own ability to lead, you're able to then apply, the strengths you have from each individual, to the situation at hand. And I think I'm sure we've all been there. I imagine we've all had various managers and leaders throughout our professional lives and that. And you look back and you sort of, we all fundamentally in our hearts can see the difference. Those who sort of we didn't get on so well with, those who we worked really well with. For me, what was the difference? As CJ's pointed out, the difference was those I worked really well with made me feel like my contribution mattered, because they listened and they realized what I could bring to the table, and they saw that and utilized that. But not only that, they also listened, understood what areas I need to grow in, and helped me grow and develop in that area. Not wanting to hold me down or feel, hang on, I'm the boss, I'm in charge, you stay there, you do your bit. Actually lifted me up to make me feel like an equal, like I had just as much to contribute as they did. So empowering me versus others that I've had, who probably more on the manager side of thing, great at getting things done in certain boxes as such, but in other aspects would be considered, I suppose, one term, long handle screwdriver, want to have everything in control of everything, instead of actually, instead of having the trust that CJ's talked about. It came across from my perspective as, well, you're not trusting me to do something. You've told me to do something, and now you're trying to get involved too much. You're not allowing me to go do it the way I think is best done, to then come back to you and say, there you go, it's done.
Yeah, that's a good shout. One of the things that the military talk about is something called mission command. And this is about inspiring a vision and then trusting your team to go away and do it. So it happens right away from the top. So the guy in charge will have a vision and he will communicate that to his next level down. They will then develop their own vision based on what they've been told, and so on. It cascades through. But mission command is really about not having the long handle screwdriver. It's about trusting your team to get on and do the best job that they can with the skills and the resources that they have. So if you've given them the right information and you're giving them the right resources, they will be able to deliver the result or the effect, as military commanders call it, with what they've got. And it's this all comes down to trust, and it talks about listening as well, because that feedback that comes up from your team that tells you that something's not quite right, you have to trust them, you have to listen to them. And that kind of brings me on to another point, which is the ability to empathize. And empathy comes in several different ways. Yes, it's about understanding how people are feeling. It's about engaging with their emotions and really sort of being able to feel what they're feeling and make them understand that you know how they feel. That's a real skill in itself. But there's another element to it, and I think it comes across in spades when you're walking around. Certainly, if you're in a leadership position and someone offers you a cup of coffee, accept the coffee. Always accept the coffee. They haven't put Brasso in it and trying to kill you. They actually want to talk to you. They want to sit down and spend some time. And that's our most precious gift that we have, is giving someone the time and the focus and our energy to just listen, just be there for them. Because ordinarily, when someone's offered you, do you fancy coffee, boss? There's something they want to tell you. And there's a golden opportunity. You're going to get some information, some intelligence, as we might say in the military, that's going to really change your game or change things up for your team as well. So accept the coffee. Also, like Shaun said, give praise willingly and openly and mean it. There's a big difference between faint praise, which is you've done a great job, well done, or someone who truly means you've done a really good job. And that's where the empathy comes in. It's about engaging emotionally with somebody and truly listening to them, being in the moment, talking back to them, repeating back what they said. So you've shown that you're listening, and then truly make them feel worthwhile, make their contribution feel worthy. Tell them how great they're doing. Tell them what a great person they've been. And a bit like going back to another point what Shaun said, really get some feedback. And if any of you have read my LinkedIn post, then you'll have heard the story already. But I had this great guy that I used to work for, guy called Richard. He was absolute legend. He wasn't in military as it happens, but he's probably the best leader I've ever worked for, a true natural leader. And I remember going into his office, sitting down, and he said, yeah, we need to have a chat about X, Y, and Z. And we talked through this stuff. And it wasn't until I walked out of the office, I thought, actually, I think I've just been told off. But I left his office motivated, inspired. I've been guided. I felt like I've been, I'd had the information that I was missing to go out and do and achieve the effect that he was looking for. Now, I thought I'd achieved the effect that he was looking for, but there was something missing. He then accepted there was something that had to be changed. I had the course correction. I went on my way and I was fired up. That's the way a telling off should feel. You should leave the office inspired and motivated to want to do better. The moment you talk down to someone, the moment you tell them they're doing a crap job, is the moment you switch them off, they're turned off, and they're immediately going on a different direction. You fired at their emotions, the biochemical cycle will start, and they will start on a spiral of rumination and all the other stuff that we can go into at a different time, getting down a massive rabbit hole there. But empathy is about being in the moment, understanding what that person is going through, and taking the time to understand their feelings and what it is that may be firing up. It may be good, it may be bad, but unless you empathize with them and spend them time, then you're not gonna understand. And that's what leaders do. They take the time, regardless. So, wow, loads of adjectives came out there, I must admit. So, talking about inspiration and motivation, Shaun, do you want to pick up on that one?
Well, I think you've said it quite nicely there, because it reminds me of a metaphor, which is what I really love, because I like, a lot of us think in pictures. I like to be able to sort of visualize things, and a great one I love is about manager versus leader sort of thing. And it's if you imagine all your people that you're responsible for, in charge of, and that as like candles, and a manager goes around, he's constantly trying to light each of the candle, light their fire, get them lit up, get them fired up, and that to deliver on a task or do something like that. But that motivation only lasts so long. If people don't have a why, a drive behind in that, and that candle will then go out. The managers, they're going back and they go, oh, that one's, I've got to motivate them. And they're lighting that one there and back over there. And so they're constantly going around trying to light people's fires, try to get people worked up, trying to bring everyone together. But a true leader walks through with so much purpose, so much inspiration, so much energy, that they radiate so much heat and energy that the people, the candles, ignite themselves and stay lit up, because the true leader walks in and provides the inspiration that brings out the best, the shining light in each individual around them, so that collectively that light shines so bright. And I think that's when you're talking about lit up and fire, and I thought that worked quite nicely. So thanks for setting me up that right there.
Well, and likewise, you just set me up as well, because the other thing about leadership which is a key difference between managers. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing managers. I've been a manager for a lot of my career, albeit I like to think I'm a leader. Managers are required. We need people to manage stuff and do things. So they are very good. They're very task motivated, task orientated, or task centric. Often use metrics to measure things, and that's kind of where the rub comes, because people don't operate in a linear fashion. People are very different, and emotions on a day-to-day, from minute to moment, can change. And that's where the true leadership comes in, is be able to recognize that flick of a switch. But one of the key differentiators between managers and leaders is leaders, it's never about them. It's always about the team. And the true leader will never put themselves forward for, say, I did that. They will be saying, this is as a result of the team. Whereas, I've seen plenty of managers hold up the metrics and say, yep, give me the pay rise. Now, you tell me, it may be better for you to stand up and get the pay rise and hold up your tickets of all the work that everybody else has done, and take that plaudit. That's great. But for a true leader, that will definitely rub the wrong way and it will cut across the grain. Leaders are there, they're there to serve. And that's the difference. They're there, it's about something bigger than them. And it kind of picks us into another little topic, which I love, which is all about ego. I have seen leaders with massive egos. I've seen managers with massive egos. And I have to say, it only goes one way, because we're getting back into that sense of, this isn't quite genuine. This is all about you. Where do I fit into this whole jigsaw puzzle? And you can see straight away that if you are trying to inspire and motivate a team, then the ego definitely needs to be taking a massive back seat. And I'm going back to my boss Richard. He had a massive ego, but he never used to let it pop out at work. It did used to pop out on social occasions, and to great effect. Very entertaining. But he knew the moment, and he would never compromise the team, and he would never compromise the way everybody was feeling, or get his ego out at anybody else's expense. But ego can be really powerful, and it's something that a true leader will be very, very astutely aware of, and will definitely keep under wraps when he's in front of the team, or she's in front of the team, trying to motivate and inspire. Shaun, any thoughts?
Yeah, it's a reach for my water. I'll hold that for a sec. I think with the ego, it ties into other areas. Really, is being able to master your emotions, being able to recognize when things are, pissing you off, I suppose, to put it bluntly, or things like that, and recognizing why that's happening, and being able to not trying to just stop, can't have an emotion. It's not about it. But it's about recognizing emotion, embracing, surrendering to it, but not letting it consume and control you. And that's where the ego often steps up. And that's where the ego gets involved. When you get overcome by that emotion and things like that, that's because the ego feels that it's being challenged or something like that. You're taking it personally instead of looking at it for, well, what is it? What is it about this that has got me upset? What is it about this I don't like? And by asking simple questions like that, that gives you enough of a pause to perhaps just settle the ego so you don't instinctively have a go at someone or you let the emotions overpower you. And then because straight away, if that happens and then off you go, giving someone both barrels worth, the trust that you had, you've lost. It may only be briefly, but that might be long enough. And so that's, I think, where the ego is about having that, understanding your emotions and being able to master your emotions. And like I said, I want to clarify, it's not about pushing them down and saying, well, I can't feel angry, I can't feel frustrated. No, it's not. It's about just surrendering to it, meaning, okay, I'm feeling angry about this, or I'm feeling frustrated about this. What is it about this that is making me angry? What is it about this situation that is frustrating me? And by being able to run that through, then will either give you the answers back, or at least gives you enough of a pause to allow that to happen, and then deal with this situation from a very smooth way of dealing with it, as opposed to just going half-cocked as such.
Yeah, that's good shout. I think predominantly what we've said all the way through is that leadership is and management are definitely two very different fields. Yes, you can have managers who are great leaders, and of course they'll be very effective at arguably both task and people-centric jobs and requirements. But it's about the bigger self, and actually it's about you. If you are able to be and show up as the best version of yourself, then you are much more empowered and able to deal with other people's emotions. And this is one of the key things that we'll go on to talk about in a moment, which is two of the services that myself and Shaun do actually deliver, which is the EMF Light experience and the EMF full EMF Elite Mentorship Forum, which we'll talk about in a moment. But really important to realize that there is nothing wrong with being a manager, and there's nothing wrong with being a leader. And there's always the question of, are leaders born or are leaders bred? Now, I'm a firm believer that you can teach people the theory to do anything. The fundamental difference between a leader and a non-leader is having the ability to put into action what you've taught. And some people just aren't cut out to be leaders. And I'm not, and I say that absolutely matter-of-factly, because for every single RAF officer that graduates Cranwell, there have been over 1,000 applicants for that role. So, and the military are very good at doing selection process because they have the resources and the ability to really narrow down in on the people that they need. And they're looking for the key skill set, the ability to be able to stand in front of people and talk and communicate, the ability to be able to actually empathize with people and trust. And that's part of what military training brings out, is that you have to trust people. It's day one. You're into trusting your colleagues to get the job done. And it builds on that theme straight from day one throughout any military training, if I'm honest, whether it's officer training or non-commissioned training. So what I'm saying is that, yes, you can teach people to what it takes to be a leader, but it's those that step up and those that are willing to take on that baton and wear that badge that says, no, I'm a leader. They're actually taking a very altruistic step, because it's more about everybody else. It's about serving. It's not about the self. And that can be tricky for some people. Any final thoughts from you, Shaun?
Yeah, I remember on funnily enough, leadership course, things like that, a video clip that was shown, which I used in one of my posts, and it's leadership principles from Dancing Guy. What I liked about it was, because it covered a number of aspects. It's about, one thing, being a leader at times can be lonely, because you need to have the courage to put yourself out the front there and to take the chances and put yourself out there. You're up on at the front, ready to be, I suppose, shot down in that sense, hopefully not the other sense. So it can be a learning experience, which comes back to having that trust and faith in your own abilities. And we all have something to bring. We all have our own life experiences and things like that, and that we've learned from. So having that faith in yourself, to that if it feels right that this is the path to go, well, have the faith in yourself that it feels right for a reason. So having the courage to then stand up and then take that challenge on, and then bring the others with you. But in Leadership Principle from Dancing Guy, it also talks about embracing, which is what we've talked in a roundabout way we've talked about as well. It's embracing your first follower, that first person who then comes along and joins you, because there you are at the moment, you look like the lone nut, until someone else thinks, you know what, I like what they're doing, and come along and join you. And it's about embracing that first follower, showing the trust and the mutual respect that you have with them, which then changes a lone nut from the early stages of a leader. And then bit by bit, other people become inspired to want to join in that movement. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, it is on one post. But if you just, I think, Google Leadership Principles from Dancing Guy, it's, if nothing else, it's quite comical just in its own right. But yeah, there you go.
It's the interesting one. I heard someone say the other day that a leader without any followers is just someone going for a walk. So, which I think is absolutely true. Okay, so if you've got any questions, feel free to unmute. Just fire the questions in. Any questions for anybody?
Or even comments or thoughts from your own perspective.
Clearly smashed it, Shaun. Oh, Guy's on.
Hi, chaps. Yeah, sorry, bit of a finger faff. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So it's arguably, it's a sort of a 180-degree look at what you've already said about ego. But one of the qualities that I've always valued in a leader, of mine and myself as a leader, is humility. And I just wonder if I could ask you to, give us your perspective on that for a moment, and as well as humility, where does one successfully draw the line between being humble but not giving the impression that you're, ready to be walked all over, if that makes sense?
That's a really good question, Guy. I think you have to pick your moments, and it's when and this is where empathy comes into the whole humility piece. So the two do bounce off each other quite nicely. So being able to show that you're not perfect and you're fallible is an absolutely crucial key, and it's part of showing empathy. If someone's having a rubbish time or something, able to demonstrate that you've got experience of that and you too have made mistakes is absolutely critical, because people need to know that you're not perfect. They need to know that you're human, particularly if you're a particularly good leader. Sometimes you can end up with this sort of pedestal scenario, which is dangerous, because nobody deserves to be put on a pedestal. Even Peter Sage, who we'll talk about in a bit, that's one of the key things he said: don't put me on a pedestal. And that's one thing as a leader you need to make sure that your team don't do, is put you on a pedestal. Yes, by all means they can like what you do, etc. But it's about striking that balance and demonstrating that yes, you are fallible. As we all are. None of us are perfect. And actually that's the beauty of being human, because if we're perfect, we never grow. And let's face it, when did you learn anything from getting things right? Well, you don't. You just learn to do the same things over and over again. When you learn is when you make mistakes. It's from our darkest moments and when things are going wrong that we have our growth moments, and that's particularly useful to share in those moments of humility when you've got it wrong. And what did you learn is the most important thing. So show the humility, but then go on to also show what have you learned? What was the growth that you got from that moment? Because that demonstrates then that failure's key to success. If you don't fail, you're not going anywhere. Dyson will tell you, Robert Dyson will tell you all about failures. How many times do you think he had experimented with his triple cyclones, he got it right. I think he did over 1,500 different variants and tests of designs until he got it right. So, and there you go. That's the measure of success. Sure.
Yeah, I think it comes back to me to that faith in yourself. Definitely not putting yourself on a pedestal, because as Peter would say as well, is the moment you put someone on a pedestal, by default, you lower your own, you lower yourself. And as a leader, it's not about making people think you're on a pedestal. It's about ensuring that they realize that, CJ said, we all make mistakes. The difference, though, between, I think, is those who make mistakes can keep making those, and those who make mistakes learn and grow from it, and then share their growth with others, so that others can see that, it is okay to make mistakes, and it happens to the best of us. And I think that's where the humility thing is. And I think a really good example for me of someone who demonstrates humility, Nelson Mandela, I think, was someone who really demonstrated humility. His trials and tribulations, what he went through, to then coming out of jail and that, and people expecting him to sort of say yes, and now let's turn the tables and everything else. And he then talked about the whole Rainbow Nation coming together. And someone who had the ability to sort of all of a sudden say, yes, it's my turn to turn the tables and do to you as what you did to me. But he didn't do that. He brought everyone together. And he showed people that how emotional and his own humility and things like that. But people bonded to him more. Because they realize that, yes, he, like everyone else, makes mistakes. He's like, we are, he's like one of us and we're like one of them. And because of that, well, people didn't steamroll over him. People followed him because he inspired the best and brought the best out of them. Guy, thank you for that question. I think humility is a big part. And I think if we look back at various people that we've worked for or things like that, I think that is one thing where you certainly see that as a defining characteristics that separates those who we felt empowered by to those who we didn't feel empowered by.
Yeah, good. Hopefully that answers your question, Guy.
Yes, thanks very much, guys. Thank you.
Perfect. So one of the things we talked about all the way through is the power to be either a great manager and or a great leader is the ability to grow yourself, being the best version of yourself and showing up as the best version of yourself. And certainly one person who's enabled both me and Shaun to do that is a guy called Peter Sage. And he offers through us as trainers the ability to provide a service. So we actually offer two services. First is the Elite Mentorship Forum Lite experience. And then, of course, there's the full Elite Mentorship Forum. Two very different services, but this is Peter Sage. Just a truly awesome guy. I don't want to put him on a pedestal, but it's difficult not to, because I've just seen the work he does, and it really resonates with me on such a huge level. And it's had such a dramatic impact on my life. So what Peter has done, who is he? Well, I would urge you, if you don't know who he is, go out and Google him. He's all over most social media platforms. Look on TED. He's done several TED Talks. London Real. He's done some interviews with Brian from London Real. And he's just recently been ranked in the top 20 of the world most influential speakers and coaches. So this stuff is truly been put together by a world-renowned expert. How can I say that, and how do I know that? Well, I've done the course. Shaun's done the course, and not only have we experienced a massive, a monumental shift in the way I turn up every day, and I know Shaun's had the same transformation, but I had the privilege of seeing it show up and change in so many other people as well. There's over 100 people on my EMF, and seeing the transformations that were going on a week-by-week basis was just so heartwarming and amazing to see the transformations just in that 27-week period. So the Elite Mentorship Forum is the premium personal transformation product. It's an incredible transformation. It will change you in ways and areas and aspects of your life that you never expected, never knew that you had problems or issues with, or were carrying around baggage with. It truly is a deep dive into your own personal psychology, and it will change the way you think about even the way the world works. Shaun, any thoughts on from you, please? I know you've got loads.
Yeah, it's I think the best way I could describe it is people say, "Oh, yeah, so what is all about?" Is it changes your context, the way you view things. A lot of things, So if I look before EMF to where I am now I could argue that a lot of things are fairly similar. My family and work I do, my current full-time job and things like that. But the way I view those things has dramatically shifted. And in viewing things from a different perspective has removed, big thing for me personally, has taken away a lot of the fear of the uncertainty, fear of the challenges which may lay ahead, and things like that, which is a massive relief. Now, don't get me wrong, I've had good 41 years of institutionalization in various guises and that. So things won't change overnight. But this has given me such a foundation, a strong foundation to build upon and just improve upon. When jump too far ahead, but as we'll go into is sort of, all the other elements that are there to support you to ensure that you continue to grow and that growth continues well on after the program. I think that's the other thing that's helped. So that, have down days. We all have down days, and some days things just don't work out. But the difference is, as people would say, where do you live? Where do you visit? I was living a lot in the fear of what may happen, fear of uncertainty. And as someone said to me once, worrying about the future is like paying interest on a mortgage you haven't got yet. And I lived in there a lot and only visited happiness and joy and all those things, rarely. But I've now made a massive shift where I now live a lot more in the sort of happiness and joy of life and the moment, and occasionally visit sort of fear and anxiety and those sort of things. But when I do visit them, I recognize that I'm doing that and have the tools to understand what I need to do to get back. So that's the big thing for me that I've found the biggest shift.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, there were so many. It's amazing when you really get stuck into the detail how many self-limiting beliefs that you're carrying around, and they normally are hangovers from your childhood, which is crazy. To think that things that happened all those years ago are now still hanging around in your adult life and having such a dramatic impact on the way you behave on a day-to-day basis. It is really surprising. But one of the things that Shaun talked about is the way you can really manage your own and control your own emotions. Fascinating deep dive into the skill of metacognition, which is just awesome. And so many other things. I mean, I put a small list up on the screen there. Hopefully you can all see that. Which, that is just a real tiny snippet. It's an incredible course. I can't sing its praises enough, but we just don't have time to go into everything. That's for sure. It is truly comprehensive. One of the things that's really powerful about EMF is the way it's delivered. So there are 14 modules that are delivered in 3 phases, and each of the modules is released every 2 weeks, and it's delivered through online learning. So you access the videos that Peter's made. They're extremely high quality. The material is literally just been revamped and upgraded. And I think Shaun will say something about this afterwards, but you actually get access to this material for the rest of your life. So if you ever want to go back and revisit, you can absolutely access this material anytime you like. And I believe it's evergreen also. So if there's any updates, it will get it's updated and you'll get access to the new material. And people who go back and do EMF a couple of times, they get a significant discount if they go back and revisit. Because one of the most powerful things that EMF does is it puts you in contact. So you have an accountability buddy. So every week you have you meet with your buddy, you talk about your learnings, your insights, and there's something about that, the bonding that you have through going on an experience like this with someone else, and you get a slightly different perspective. So what's really dragging you down one week may not have an impact on your buddy, and they can actually see things from a different perspective. And that's a really powerful way to learn. And of course, it holds you to account. Shaun?
Yeah, using the buddy thing, I see that like the times when I look back when I've said to one of my mates or someone, I said, right, let's meet up tomorrow morning, go for a run. And you both meet up and you realize, when you woke up, you thought, I could just stay in bed. And you meet up because you're going to meet up with your mate. You promised them. You both meet up, realize both of you wanted to stay in bed that morning. But you both showed up for each other. And then you find out you have one of the best runs ever. You bring each other on, you come back and you feel great. And as accountability buddies is a bit like that. You help each other through, but what I found with, I went through EMF twice, so two different buddies. And what I found was the different perspective, because I'll approach things from my values and beliefs and that. And then when I talk about it with my buddy, they'll approach from their values and beliefs, and they'll give me a completely different context that I didn't even conceive of. So it broadens my learning. And that's what I found really useful. And I now keep contact with both of them, still keep in touch, and I'm looking forward to meeting up very shortly.
It's a really good shout. The other aspect, of course, of the EMF is the active learning. So it's very much an engagement. Whilst you may be working through your workbook on your workbook is amazing, by the way, very, very high quality. And when you're working through your work, you'll do some of the exercises with your buddy. And there are some really, 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 really powerful practical exercises right away throughout the whole program. It's crazy the amount of stuff you learn. And it's incredible value. And I'm not just saying that because I'm trying to sell it. I'm saying it because I know it. I live and eat it, breathe it every day. It's amazing. It's amazing transformational experience. And of course, then there's the course. So as your trainers, when you sign up for EMF with myself and Shaun, we work together. So you're getting two trainers for the price of one. So you're getting two perspectives, which is, as we were just talking about, is really valuable. But you do alternate weeks. So one week we do a community call where it's about the community sharing their experiences and their perspectives on the content and what they've learned and their aha magic moments, as we call them. And then the alternative week, you submit your questions and we do a live Q&A. So we're on the spot. You can ask us any questions you like about the material and we'll do our best to answer them there and then. And if you've got any questions along the way, you can submit your questions and we will answer them. That's not a problem at all. Anything you want to add on that one, Shaun?
Yeah, it's that sense of community. I think that's the big thing, because accountability buddy helps bring you along, but then that shared experience, and as those of us with sort of the military background, the camaraderie you get from that going through a shared experience really strengthens the bonds that you have between people. And going beyond that is it's as we mentioned earlier, this is available for life, but I now have a international family of and I say family because that's what they feel like, all around the world. And the other part of it as well is every year, obviously COVID played a little bit of an issue, but every year Peter usually get all the EMF alumni. So when you graduate, you become an alumni. So you have alumni calls. There's certain influential speakers that Team Sage will bring in, and you get to go on those calls and learn from them. But not only that, every year Peter usually gets everyone together and people meet together. This year, in a couple of weeks' time, we're meeting in Tenerife for Peter's 50th birthday, and I think there's about 300 people coming. So a lot of this family of mine who I've spent a lot of time meeting on Zoom, I'm now going to meet them face to face. So there are all those other things, and it's the law of conformity. It is the people hang around people who bring you down, and no matter how strong-willed you are, eventually you'll be bring down. Hang around people who lift your spirits, lift you. You will just walk on water. because of the environment that you surround yourself in.
Yeah, environment beats world every time. That's for sure. That's something you learn on EMF, and it's certainly something I've experienced. I've massive upgraded my peer group, and it's had just a tremendous impact on my life. So, yeah, thanks, Shaun. Okay, so that's EMF. We are happy to answer any questions that you may have on it, but in the interest of just moving on and time, there is also the Elite Mentorship Forum Light experience, which is just been released. This is for those people who can't commit to 27 weeks, or they think is a little bit heavy and not quite sure if they want to commit to that level of commitment, and would just like to have a taster. What it does, it just takes a few of the sweet spots out of the EMF program and condenses it down into a shorter experience, and that's why it's called the Light experience. Again, they talked a couple of fundamental modules out of EMF have been taken into this. So talk about money and finance, and then one of the key ones, which is I think is a great one that they put into the package, is the managing or mastering your emotions, they call it, which is an incredibly powerful module in its own right. It's about going into metacognition, if anybody knows what that means, and how we can really, as human beings, we have the power to think about our thoughts. And by using that skill, you can really have some really powerful breakthroughs in when you find yourself spiraling into negativity. And also there's an exercise in there where you actually get to understand the reasons why you do the things you do. And it's so revealing. Having done the exercise a couple of times myself, you go through it and think, crikey, why am I writing all this stuff down? It doesn't make any sense. But it does all come good in the end. And then you realize, oh yes, I definitely do recognize what's going on there. So very, very powerful. And then there's a bonus workshop thrown in there for all good with as well. And there's a Q&A session that Peter's also recorded, which is, again, it's just so powerfully enlightening when you hear what people have to say, what Peter's got to say. He's just an incredible guy, I have to say. Shaun, have you got anything more to add on the EMF Light experience?
No, I think you've covered it fairly well there. It's this is the condensed version. I think off the top of my head, I think it's about sort of seven or so hours in total content with the various videos, but then doing some of the activity as well. And there's a bit smaller workbook with that as well. To go through some of that activity. It's a very good taster and very good sort of stepping stone if they're not quite sure about this and how it fits your current lifestyle.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to put Shaun on the spot here, so I'm not discuss this with him. But certainly, if anybody signed up for EMF Light with me, I'm sure Shaun would do likewise. That we would quite happily jump on a couple of calls and answer any questions, so you get a little bit of that EMF experience as well. So if we had a couple of people joined up at the same time, we would try and put them into a cohort and attack it in the same way as EMF. That makes sense.
More than happy to do that, and that's just adding that bit extra value and get people can then see the benefit and the value of doing that as well.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, perfect. So none of this stuff comes for free. So there is a cost element to it. So here's the pricing. Price, as you would probably expect for EMF, is with such a life-changing program, there is and this is a massive special offer. It's about 43 or 44% discount for the June course only. So anybody who enrolls and gets on that course, they'll get a full EMF for 1,750 quid. If the finances is a problem with you, don't let that put you off. Give us a call, because we have flexible payment schemes. We can talk about it, and maybe we can come up with a plan to try and help you meet that commitment. But that is a one-off course. So anybody who joins up for that June course, they'll get it for that highly reduced price. After June, it goes back to its regular price, which is $299.50. So we're able to offer you $2,995. Yeah. And we're able to offer you that at a reduced price, because we've had a reduction from it's a beta course, if you like, for June. So that's the EMF, and of course the EMF Light experience is, again, it's very condensed, but I think that's a really, really good value at 420 quid. Again, you get access to the material for life. So it's an evergreen course. If it's updated, you can go back, you can check it out, and the material's still going to be there. So those are the 2 price points. So what really remains is just to ask yourself one question: is, do you want to change your life? Because that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about a book that you read. We're not talking about a short course that you go on and then you forget about it. Once you join EMF, you're in it for life, and it will change your life fundamentally. I guarantee it. And I can guarantee that, because I know if you join up and you sign up, you are going to see incredible personal transformation that will last you and serve you for the rest of your life in the best way that you could possibly ever imagine. It's incredible. And if you want to see more, you want to hear more of the content, we will be doing these calls every 2 weeks. That's our commitment. We will do a webinar every 2 weeks. And of course, join our Facebook community. So it's Personal Transformation and Wellbeing Network, where we're trying to gather people together who want to just develop. And we'll be adding as much value as we can into that community going forward. Either by posting content, so you get exclusive first looks at all the content that comes out. We also really genuinely welcome feedback. We want to know what your pain points are in your life. What are you frustrated with? What's getting you down? What could you do better? What are you trying to improve in your life? And we will have something that can help you with, guaranteed. So that's really about it. I think the secret to all this is, as it says in our motto, it's Temet Noska. It is know thyself. Truly understand yourself. Get under the hood. Really understand the way you tick, what motivates you, what doesn't motivate you, and wire yourself back in a way that's going to serve you in the best shape forward. We only have one life, so why not live the best life you can? And to do that, I would strongly encourage and invite everybody to do the Elite Mentorship Forum. Shaun, any final comments from you?
Yeah. Well, where do we go? Yeah, I think here's CJ and I has both had fundamental changes for our lives. We've been friends long before this, and both of us have had our own transformation and continue to transform. We're here to add as much value as we can. If EMF right for you, fantastic. We welcome you into the family and the community. We've also got the sort of Facebook group, which I know if you're on this call already in as well. So we'll continue to add as much value there, because it's about that supporting peer group. It's about holding each other up and and helping each other along through the good and the bad. So the more value we can add, that also comes from feedback and communication from yourselves. If there's stuff you want us to talk about or things like that, please just let us know. Any way that we can help and add value in that way is we are more than happy to. But sort of final words from me, really. I just want to thank you for obviously the people who are here live. Thank you for taking time out of your life to sort of listen to the two of us. We really appreciate it. Thank you for anyone who's catching up on this, who has watched to this point as well. So, thank you very much for that. We that's not unnoticed. We really appreciate your time, and any way we can add value is what we're about. So, thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Take care. Until next time.